Okay, so those were a few songs that were collected as an inspiration for our song Why Did I on our album Rom-Com Mixtape. The first one that I played was by one of my favorite bands ever, and they only put out 2 albums, but it's Latin Playboys. It is 2 members of the group Los Lobos, and they this album here was actually something they recorded at home and then had taken it to a producer and engineer team, Mitchell Froome and Chad Blake, and had them kind of master and mix it and help them produce it. But most of it was done just on, I want to say they said it was a 4-track recording. It's been a while since I've read up on it. The album's from the 90s, but the entire album is fantastic, and just the soundscapes and everything they use is amazing. Now, the reason I picked that is because there's a rhythm in it that, or not the rhythm in it, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of a different song. So the reason I picked that song, the real reason I picked that song, is because of the guitar line. I love the way the guitar line sounded, and that's kind of what I went for in Why Did I. I keep confusing that with being inspired by another song on the same album. So that's what that pause was there. You don't care. You just want to hear why I picked it. So the guitar really inspired. I wanted something, the first time I heard that song, the guitar is just so raw. Love it. That's why that was picked. Now, the second one was Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. That was because when we were doing the song, I just felt like there was a lot of open space and it kind of lost a groove. Like there was a groove in there. There were drums that were consistent throughout in the original recording, and I wanted to open them up, so I took them out. But then it was like, well, now it loses the groove. There's too much of a space, but I just didn't want it to be a driving drum beat through the entire song. And that's when I think I had watched a documentary on Quincy Jones, and they were talking about his, not that I'm like, oh, now I'm Quincy Jones. No, it's interesting to hear producers talk, and it gives you ideas. And one of the things was the way that he did the drums and bass for Billie Jean and how it came about. And while listening to it, I'm like, and that shaker, and I was listening, and it's like, it's in one speaker, and it's actually pretty dominant the entire time, but I've never really paid attention to the fact that there's a shaker the whole time. So I tested that out in the song, and we have a shaker in there that goes throughout in those parts where the drums stop and the guitar stops and then kicks in. So that's why that one's in there. It kind of inspired that sort of feel to the song. And then the next song is by The Charlatans, or technically The Charlatans UK, because there was already a band in America called The Charlatans. So they had to add UK. And the song Weirdo, I put that in because I was trying to find an organ sound for the end, or even throughout when I use the organ sound. I'm playing a synthesizer, but it's an organ sound, and I wanted to try and get that really, it's like a B3, but for some reason it has a lot more, just drive to it. So I put that down to try and see if I couldn't recreate that organ sound. I didn't, but I got something that was a bit more driving. I went more of a synth sound with the organ rather than an organ sound with the organ. So those are the reasons that I picked those and the artists that did those songs. Now, next I'm going to play a few songs, including, now that you've heard those, the song that was spawned from all this, Why Did I?, from our album Rom-Com Mixtape. So we're going to start off with that one and then play a few more songs, and I'll be back to tell you about those as well.